Okay, here we are. Another day, another episode.
Another dollar.
Man, this is pretty good. We're on number 10, man.
I know.
Who would have thought?
It's taken us a bit to get here, but we're here.
Oh, good day, good weather today. How's it going?
It's good, man.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm glad to get out of the house and get into my car. It's just stop looking for a job and get on the road, man. I was enjoying that. Put that thing in manual mode and put the top down or the sunroof back so my hair could. Okay, I don't have hair, but metaphorically,
Imaginary.
my imaginary metaphorical clear hair could.
You thought you had Fabio, right?
No, I didn't. I really didn't think that. Not even remotely.
You weren't channeling Fabio?
I was not channeling Fabio. I was channeling Bruce Willis, bald Bruce Willis. How about that?
Okay, God, it's so weird how things happen. So Fabio, we went to, what was the name of that amusement park? There's an amusement park, like, I want to say Busch Gardens, but it could have been another one. It's over on the East Coast in Virginia area, Williamsburg.
Williamsburg has got a Busch Gardens in it.
Yeah, is there another amusement park?
I don't know.
Okay, well, let's just go with Busch Gardens then.
Sounds good.
We go there, and they have a roller coaster. And I don't remember the name of the roller coaster, but I'm a front seat guy. I love
100%.
Oh man, I love roller coasters.
100%.
So we go to this place, and I've got some funny stories about my grandparents that went there. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. But we get on this roller coaster, and it goes up, I want to say 400 feet. At the time, it was like one of the tallest roller coasters. So it goes up 400 feet and then just, drops straight down and does all its things. So we go there. Of course, I go front car. My dad and I, we always do front cars. Do the front car. Like the next day or so, Fabio had gone to the same amusement park and rode on the same ride, hit a bird and broke his nose.
I remember that. That was Busch Gardens. Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure it's Busch Gardens. Yeah, I remember him. Okay. I remember seeing the pictures of him, blood down his face, like a white shirt on.
Yep. He went there right after we had done that ride. Oh my gosh!
Even Fabio made getting a broken nose look good.
I know. It's
ridiculous.
I know. So crazy. All right. Anyway, okay. Back to other stuff. So, what's been going on?
Man, it has been pretty light for me. I haven't done any track days. Oh. I've done some car shows. I've done exotics. I did a Lamborghini show one day, but I haven't really done much.
Slacking, man.
I have been. I've been missing out on some track days, and
I know we've been missing you. We've done what, 2? Yeah, so I've done 2 now. I think that you weren't there. Mm-hmm. 2 now.
No, I think it's 3 because you went back to Oregon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So man, I've done quite a few. So, well, I've only done 2 things. One is I did a track day. John was there. Rob was there. Rob and his son was there. There was another. Who's the guy with the...
Was Roy there?
Who?
Roy with the red ATSV?
No, Roy wasn't there.
Oh, he was in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Oregon. That's right.
The guy with the Flash, the black...
Oh, yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben was there, and then Travis showed up. Like, at the very last second, Travis popped in. So there's a good group of us. And let's see, myself... Travis and John were all in the advanced group. I think Ben and Rob were then in the intermediate group.
Sure.
And so there's a guy, the guy in the Camaro, the blue Camaro.
Yes.
So he always tries to go there early, and he's a good driver, but I want to be around him so I can do my stuff. So John, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go out there 10 minutes early. And John's like, what? I'm like, I want to get in front of that Camaro. So I go, John's like, all right. So we go line up. And we get up there, and then the number 3 guy is the Camaro.
Oh, man.
So every time I went a little bit earlier, finally at the end of the day, he's like, man, I could never be the first guy up there. I'm like, yeah, because I wanted to be the first guy up there. So my goal...
Was he able to get past you, though?
No, he's not. No.
Yeah,
no.
I didn't think so. The car difference is too much.
Yeah, I mean, he can hold me or keep me behind him.
Yep.
But if I wanted to push it, then I'm right up on his bumper. So every time I have to back off a little bit, So maybe I'm a little
Which
bit.
really means if you're up, if you keep getting up to his bumper and you're having to back off, that's because he's not letting you by, and he should.
Well, but I was pulling myself back. So I would catch up to him and then I would just back off, right? So, but then I'm like, if I can just line up in front of him, I never have to worry about it. So I told John, I'm like, my goal is I really want to break in the 140s. I'm so close. The last, whatever, 2 times ago, or whatever the last time we were out there, I got 150 point, whatever, 2 or something like that. So I'm like, all right, I want to get out there. I want to be first, get my hot lap, and let's see if I can set it. So we go out there. First lap, I want to do kind of a warm up. I'm not going to hit it hard the very first lap.
John will.
John, he will.
Full send, John. Whether it's the first lap or last lap, he's going full send.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I want the tires to get a little bit of heat in them. So I'm like, all right, I'll take it easy the first lap. And when I come back around, I can hopefully get at least 2 hot laps. That's my goal. But the advanced group was pretty full this last time. Mm-hmm. So I go out, take it easy. When I'm coming around on my first lap and I hit the straightaway, the last car in the advanced group pulls onto the track.
No.
Yep. So I didn't even I never got a full lap, a clean lap, because there was always people in front of me. So I was running consistently 152, 153 in traffic. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's really good in traffic.
That's really, really good.
The next session we go out, and I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna go out even slower to build a buffer. But then what happened is that the blue Camaro guy was caught up to John. John was on my bumper, and then the guy behind the Camaro was bunched up. And this is coming out of 9 up the hill.
Yep.
And so we're already bunched up. I'm like, oh, crap, I can't. That's not fair to these guys. So then I punch it. I come around, and I'm like, oh, clear track. Good. So I hammer it down the straightaway. I'm like, all right, here we go. Turn 1, 2, 3, 4. I hit a car. So I'm like, crap. So I didn't get it. So usually by the last session, people are going home early, or
right.
People had issues.
It starts to thin out. Right?
Yeah, it thins out. So I get 2 hot laps in the third session. I get 150.16 and 150.1 something else.
Oh,
so close, so close.
Are you watching the video? I know you got Garmin, you got PDR.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the video to figure out where your sectors are? Where do you think you can make up time?
So Garmin tells me 2 areas. No, 3. There's 3 areas. Consistently, there's 3 areas.
Turn 1. I already know that. We could all do better.
I've got a strategy. I'll tell you. I've got a strategy. So turn 1 is the first one. Second one is carrying more speed around the carousel.
Carousel for sure.
And I feel like I'm going like 60 to 64.
And around the carousel?
Around the carousel.
I can do 60 in my car.
So
around the carousel. I've even done 65 with the wheels squealing. So
yeah.
You should be 65, 70.
I should be able to go faster.
You really should be.
And then the last one, which is really weird, is it 16 where you drop down the hill and you got that little S before you hit the straightaway?
Oh, yeah.
It says I'm losing half a second just in that section.
Really?
Yep.
So when you start heading downhill, well, what I was told by some pro drivers is when you head downhill, blip the throttle real hard. Get it going real hard, and then just let off the throttle. You don't even have to really hit the brakes too much because you're not holding it that long.
Yeah.
You're not gaining that much speed, but it does get the car moving quicker downhill, and then you go into your turn, and you really don't have to touch the brakes all that much.
I think it's after you go down the hill and you turn right.
Right.
It's the next kind of round. So it's the next 2 turns
because it's a double apex.
Yeah, it's a double apex, and so it's how you're turning that, and that's where I'm losing time. So those are the 3 areas. And so
are you hugging the inside corner?
I've tried everything.
I think the fastest way out, when I was with Paul Gerard, right? When I was with the Stig, one of the things he told me was he wanted me to go make a D, or kind of like a rounded D a little bit. So as soon as you're coming on out, make that right hand turn. There's a shack.
Yep.
And I'm aiming right toward that shack, and then I start slowly making that D, and then as I come into the apex, I'm almost straight. And that just seemed to be faster. Now my car is heavier. My car is more top heavy than yours. It doesn't have the same suspension, so But for me, I found that's the fastest way around that. I've tried to hug it, and then I scrub way too much speed, but
Yeah, I
I
don't-
can carry more if I go wider and then coming in.
Well, I've tried your way. I've tried hugging, and then a third way is don't aim at the shack. You aim to the right, and then you're turning. You turn left before you get to the end of the track, so that it's hard to describe. But instead of aiming at the track and then making that hard left back, you kind of aim more to the right. So you're staying more on the right side of the track, and then you're making. And when you bend make that slight left, you gun it. So you're going. I don't know. I have to show you.
I think I can picture what you're saying.
I've got to figure that one out.
Yeah.
So I got to play with that one.
You got
But
like half a second there.
half a second, and then turn one. So
I'll bet you got a half a second to 3/4 of a second easy.
it
turn
says that
one.
I can between those three areas, those three ones I mentioned, I can save 2 seconds from those three areas alone. So that would get me definitely into the.
Oh, yeah.
The best time I did was Garmin said that if I put them all together, I would have a 148. So.
Yeah.
Turn one, I'm now, before I was letting off, and so now I'm carrying way more speed to the second cone. I don't brake at the first cone. I brake at the second cone, but I'm braking too hard.
So you're scrubbing too much speed.
I'm scrubbing too
Yeah.
much speed. So what I was talking to some other guy, and he said, well, what he does, and he actually carries more speed around the turn than I do, is that he will let off the throttle before he gets to turn one. I know we've talked about this before. He'll let off the throttle before he gets to the first braking cone.
So the third cone?
He just lets off and lets him slow down, and then he'll just lightly tap the brake,
Just put a little front.
and then he's
weight.
carrying way more speed, like 110.
110 around
I'm
turn
like,
one.
dude, I'm like 101.
I don't have the balls for that.
I don't
One
have
my car. No, I wouldn't do that with my
So
car.
I have I'm like, okay, I know it can do it, but I don't know if
But is
I'm.
he running a Z06 too?
No, he was in a what was
What's he
it?
in? If you say he's running a Miata,
Oh, he was
I'm gonna hurt
he was in a Porsche. I don't remember if it was a GT3 or 4. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's not surprising. Porsches around that track are just eat that track up.
Oh man. So anyway, so I did the track. That was fun. John got better. He didn't. I think he got 154. I
Okay.
think 153. I think he might have got into the 153s before we left. So he did good. He was super happy. Ben was pretty happy. Travis was driving good. Rob did good. So it was a great day. It was a lot of fun.
You went out there, had fun, and came home safely.
Yeah,
and did break cars.
Hopefully,
that's a solid
hopefully
day.
you'll make their next. I've got 3 or 4 lined up for next month.
Yeah, I got to at least do one.
You got to get one.
I got to get one more in for the season because I think I can get my tires. I was looking at them the other day when I redid the brakes a couple weeks ago, rather, because that is actually the only thing I did was I put new brakes on the car.
Oh, you can do that.
Huh?
You can.
Yes, I have the skills. I even taught my son how to do it. By the way, I did one side. It took me 2 hours only because I was showing him.
Oh,
And I spent
okay.
a lot of time showing him how to do it, letting him do
That's
it.
cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And then when he went inside, he goes, I'm going to go inside and take a break, Dad. And I was getting impatient. So by the time he came back outside, 30 minutes later, I was already done with the other side. Jacked it up and put the brakes on it, put it back down, torqued the wheels, done.
So you got to do new pads, and you've got one more track session out of your tires left.
Oh, I got more than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got more. But my whole point was I was looking at the tires and I'm like, man, I got some good tread left.
Okay.
I need to go and destroy them.
Well, we've got David's going down with us for ORP. So I was chatting with him last week, and so he's going to go down there. He's going to go down there with. I think he's going to
When
take
is ORP?
Oregon.
No, I know when.
Oh, it's in third week of September.
Okay.
Yep, third week. Yeah, you should come down because I think John's going down, Rob's going down. David said he'll come, and maybe Travis. So we might have a good grouping. So okay, so I did track. Then the only other thing is, you probably forgot this. I love this. We went to. So John called and said, "Hey, we're doing some car thing at Lamborghini. Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Okay." I thought it was like the way he described it was like something else. Like I had a different vision of what we were going to be doing there, like some special event. I just took it wrong. So I show up there and I'm like, there's a bunch of really nice cars, but I'm like, oh, this is just like a cars and coffee event.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
They do
really
it every year.
Yeah, and I didn't know that, so I thought it was something else. So I was going to leave. I'm like, I'll just hang out and see. So we end up hanging out there for a couple hours and walk around seeing cars. It was great to see. I mean, the dealership, it's Lamborghini. They had McLarens and they had, was it Bentley, Rolls Royce?
Bentley and Rolls Royce.
Yeah, so they had a lot of stuff and a lot of cool cars that had come up. So that was really awesome. So we're walking around, and I made a mention. There was a sales lady that was kind of roaming around, and
Lisa.
Yeah, and we had asked some questions, and she was super helpful. And because one of my next steps, I really want to go toward the 720. And so she was talking about, 720s are actually really hard to get right now because they're a better value when the 750 came out. But they had a couple. So we're talking, and she's like, oh, have you seen the cars in the back? And no. So she takes us back and kind of showing us kind of the back room. And I don't know, they probably had 20 cars back
probably,
there.
yeah.
Some super like multi-million-dollar cars in the back area.
Oh, the McLaren Senna GTR was there. Plus they had the Elva, which is the no windshield,
the no windshield
kind of thing. Just it's beautiful, but it's
gorgeous.
not practical.
I don't get it, but a lot of expensive cars
It's an investment piece
in that back room, and they had a couple of Lamborghini Urus that
I know where you're going.
They were showing.
You said you were going to do this.
And so she's showing, and this one is really nice. It's blue, like kind of like your car, like it's
metallic sky blue.
Yeah, it's a really pretty blue,
stunning,
gorgeous car. It's going to be delivered. So this is a customer's car. It's already been sold. It's being prepped for delivery. Okay,
it's been completely detailed to the nines.
It looks spectacular. Well, we go over to it. I'm like, holy crap, this has got a carbon fiber hood on it. Beautiful hood, beautiful. And I got put my face down really close, and man, it looks just gorgeous. Now, I wanted to do something. I wanted to reach over and I wanted to touch the vehicle to feel how it felt between the paint and the carbon fiber on that hood. If you could even feel a seam or anything, was it like butter? But I didn't, because one of the unwritten rules of cars and coffees is that you keep your hands in your pockets or behind your back when you're looking at vehicles, so that you don't actually brush against a car or anything like that. So I look and I leave. Gene walks up without even hesitation, puts his hand on the hood.
Okay, not my whole hand, just my finger, just a light. I wanted to feel the seam. And by the way, if you're all wondering, there was no seam. It was absolutely perfectly smooth and flawless. But I had to feel it. And it was a light little touch. You should have you should have seen the look of oh my God, Gene, what are you doing in your eyes? I saw that look.
I had that look because I'm like,
you're a detailer too, so I get it.
I cannot believe you just touched that $350,000 vehicle.
At least I didn't care.
He just rubbed his little finger right over it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
Hey,
she probably didn't even.
No, she didn't care.
She didn't like. It's not even a thing to her. Like when I picked up my Z06, they went to go fill it up with gas. The lady dribbled gas down the side of the car when she took the nozzle out.
Oh.
And I'm like, huh.
My heart would have stopped right there.
I'm like, the gas. And she's like, oh, yeah, we put gas in all the cars. She didn't even realize what she was doing.
No,
so that, she probably didn't realize you touching the vehicle was like anything. But my eyes were wide. I could not believe.
And you said, I'm going to bring it up on the next podcast. Blah, 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 blah.
And then you forgot about it.
I did forget about it. I was wondering where you're going with this story, and then you're like, "Oh, we went to the back room." I'm like, "Oh, I know exactly where he's going."
Oh, I could not believe that was so funny. But I'm glad that you did.
This is how Dan publicly shames people is on a podcast.
We only have one listener, so I think it's your mom.
It's probably my mom or my son, who thinks we have the best podcast on the planet.
Yeah,
no one does it better. He left a comment on one of the first videos.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad to know that it's butter smooth.
It is.
And it should be for a $350,000 vehicle. It should be. But, man, that was so funny. I just could not hold that one back. Okay. The topic for the day, and I think the next 2 episodes, we'll talk about how did we get where we are as it relates to cars today. And I think I mentioned before that I've been kind of late to the car scene because my background has been in another motorsport. So I thought I'd take
Mini trucking.
dancing beds.
I still want to see that truck. I still need to see a picture of it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I think I've got this is great podcasting here.
Because the way you've described it in one of the earlier episodes, I've seen not your truck, but you described it in such a way where I have seen that truck on Mini Truckin' Magazine grow, in the 80s. I mean, I've seen it. I know exactly what it looks like without ever seeing yours.
I took a picture of this. I'm trying to locate it. If I can't, I'll show it to you afterwards. I was going to let you respond on the podcast, but I just found the picture. And I'm like, oh, Gene will want to see this, and I took a picture, and I can't find it. So I'll show it to you afterwards. I'll show it to you afterwards. Okay, so I thought we'll take a little trip down memory lane about how I got here today. It starts back when I was 6 years old. My first motorcycle.
All right.
It's 6 years old, and the motorcycle.
Parents were brave.
What's that?
Your parents were brave.
My dad.
Your dad? Okay.
Yeah, not my mom.
No, not so brave.
When Mom listens to this episode, she'll be like, "Yeah, I told him don't get the motorcycle." So I got the motorcycle. No training wheels, right? You can't have training wheels, not on a motorcycle.
No.
So I got the motorcycle at 6, and it was awesome. Loved the bike. My dad rode motorcycles. My grandfather, he rode motorcycles. Kind of in the family. Maybe my uncle, maybe, I think some of my uncles did too. So my dad got one at 6, and I don't know if I mentioned before, but I grew up on a lot of property. We had on my side of the road where my grandparents, they had 100 acres that I grew up on. Literally across a little 2-lane nothing road was my great-grandparents. They had 300 acres,
wow.
And then my other aunt a little bit down, had another 300 acres. So I grew up on lots of land. Motorcycles, you just go out, right? We just go out and on our own land. I didn't have to go anywhere. And it was great. I think my cousins had 3-wheelers, back then when you're allowed to have 3-wheelers. It was awesome, but I like to be a little adrenaline, little daredevil type stuff. I had this all the way back then, okay? So there was an incident.
They were still talking at 6, right? 6 years old?
Just started at 6. I mentioned there's a little 2-lane road that you had to cross to my great-grandparents' house.
Or you have to jump.
Huh?
Or you got to jump it.
Well, you just ride across. It's a little tiny thing. And so, I would spend, me growing up as a kid, I either lived, for the most part, in my grandparents' house, which is next door, or my great-grandparents across the road because they have this property, and as a kid, you're just out there. And so we used to go over to my great-grandparents' house. I want to show off because I had the motorcycle.
You said you didn't or you did?
I did. Okay. I wanted to show off as a kid, right? So what I would do is that I would go on one end of the property and I would see a car coming down the road, and then I would try to beat that car to the other side of the house, okay? And so I would do that, it was all fun and games until it wasn't. The property that I grew up on, all that property had old growth trees, huge old growth. And so at my great-grandma's house, they had lots of big oak trees. And I'm talking like the diameter 4, 5, 6 feet. I mean, these are big trees, right? So one time I'm out there showing off and I'm racing a car and I'm coming around, and I don't remember now, but I was probably looking at, my cousins and trying to put a hand in the air, do something stupid. I hit that tree and I go up the tree.
Go up the tree?
Well, I start, because I don't know if like big oak trees, the roots it just doesn't go straight in the ground like a pine tree does. So it kind of makes a ramp. So I kind of hit that sucker full speed, whoop, goes up, bike goes straight up, I fall off the back, and then I turn over and bust my teeth on a brick. So I go home bawling, blood everywhere.
Where'd the bike land?
It landed right beside me. I think probably what happened is because when I turned, because I had to turn to hit the brick for my mouth.
Yeah.
So probably I turned, and then the bike literally landed right beside me. So I probably saw it coming, and I turned over. I went home, and I remember talking later in life to my mom, and she's like, I wanted that bike sold right then. So that was my first time of something bad happened. One of many stories to come. Had a bike from 6. After that incident, stayed on the bike, kept riding. As I got older, moved to Missouri, and my dad was stationed there at Arperson. Got another bike. I had a 1979 YZ125. My first bike was a TY80. This one was a YZ125. And we lived in a neighborhood where everything's all crunched together kind of neighborhood. But there was a whole bunch of development. This was, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And the development in that area of Missouri, St. Peter's, a lot of just open nothing. If you could get your motorcycle out of the neighborhood, there was just tons of places to go ride. I would typically ride my motorcycle out the neighborhood and then go ride somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, one day I'm riding my motorcycle and I passed the cops. Now I'm in the neighborhood
Speeding?
still. No, I wasn't speeding, but I was on the motorcycle. And the way our neighborhood is shaped or positioned, I'm up on a hill, and then it goes down a hill to the bottom, and then it goes back up the hill, and that's where you get out of the neighborhood. I lived up on top of the hill. So I'm riding down to the bottom of the hill, and then I'm going to go back up to get out and pass a cop. He puts his lights on, turns around. And at this point, I'm in junior high. So ninth grade, I think, is the age I'm at, or the grade that I'm in. And so what is that? 15 years old, maybe?
Yeah, that's about right.
15. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And my dad's really strict too. So I'm like, oh crap, what's going on? Cop comes up, he's like, you can't be riding this, in the neighborhood. I'm like, I was on the sidewalk. I was on the sidewalk. He's like, you can't have a motorized vehicle on the sidewalk. And we can either take the motorcycle or you can push it home. I'm like, okay, I'll push. I had to push this freaking motorcycle up this hill to get back to my house. Ooh. So disappointed. Told my dad, and I don't think anything happened of it, but I didn't ride the motorcycle again because I couldn't take the chance of running to cops. So I didn't really do anything until I moved to Alabama. My dad got stationed in Fort McClellan, and there we had a neighborhood, and it backed up to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres of woods. So I got to ride a ton there. Yeah. Lots of riding. Now this is all
same bike, or did you get a new one?
No, that was the same bike. Same bike.
Okay.
Same bike. I was just doing off-road stuff. I build jumps and that kind of stuff, but I wasn't doing any racing. So that was through high school. Now when college hit, sold the motorcycle, wasn't doing anything with motorcycles. I was in college, so busy. I worked full-time. Went to, 18 hours of credit, so I had a full schedule. I worked 40 hours a week. I was in ROTC and the National Guard. My plate was full. Didn't have time for any extracurricular. Fast forward to getting commissioned in the Army, and I come up to Fort Lewis, get stationed to Fort Lewis. Now, I think we've talked about it before, but I had about a week or so to find a place to live, and they put me up in an apartment or maybe a barracks. So I can't remember where I was staying at the time, but I had about a week to find an apartment. The second day I was here, this is no joke, I pulled in. Let's say it was a Monday. I drove here from Georgia, stayed wherever I was staying on base for the first night. Second day, I get up, I go to the motorcycle shop, and I buy myself a brand new motorcycle.
Road bike or dirt bike?
Dirt bike.
Okay. Get
a brand spanking new YZ125 and a trailer. I saw the trailer out there today. And I buy that bike before I have a place to live.
Priorities.
My priorities clearly were in the right order.
I agree.
So I get an apartment, and I keep the motorcycle in my apartment.
First floor?
I'm on the first floor because you only get one parking place, right? Mm-hmm. So I've got my car at my car was parked there, and I had a motocross bike. It was parked in my living room, my dining room. I don't have a need for a dining room. Not as a single guy. I don't need a dining room.
Were you and Cheryl together at the time?
No, not at the time.
Okay.
So I had my motorcycle, and it was kept it there. And I started looking into tracks. I wanted to get into racing is what I wanted to do. This area had tons of tracks back then. So I started getting into it, started getting into racing, and I started doing that type of stuff. Then I wanted to get a street bike. So I went and got a street bike, Katana 750.
All right.
Nice bike. That also parked inside the house, inside the apartment. So I had 2 motorcycles parked inside.
Dining room, garage. I like that. Go with the garage.
Well, there's
in the
no
house.
The motocross bike was easy because I could bring it in the back slider, but to get the Katana 750 in, I couldn't back there because the grass would sink, and if it was ever wet, it was just it wasn't. I couldn't do it, so I would have to bring it in the front door and have to do like this funky S maneuver back shimmy type thing to get it in, and I
The fairings are so wide,
because it's so wide,
and then the angle,
that you're trying to turn. So I knocked the crap out of the wall. When I left, I'd do lots of touch up on the walls, but I kept both motorcycles in my apartment. But I got really into I definitely got into racing, and then I met I met Cheryl. We got married, moved into a house, and still really into racing. I ended up selling the street bike primarily because I'm a fair weather rider on the street bike, and I mean it's a crotch. They consider it a sport touring bike. It looks like it's a crotch rocket, but you have a little more upright position, not like completely bent over.
Yeah.
So it's a little more comfortable, but 750, it's got a lot of power. And I don't want to ride in the rain. I don't want to ride in bad weather. In Washington, like, you don't have that many great days for street bikes. Mm-hmm. So I decided to sell it. Plus I freaked Cheryl out. Mom's going to love this story because she's never heard this. My mom listens as well, and she finds all this stuff that she's never known about me.
Mom.
So there was one incident where I'm showing off. I shouldn't have been doing this, but I was showing off for Cheryl.
By the way, I've seen a pattern.
I know there's
just want to make sure we all know there's a pattern of showing off.
There's a pattern.
Gotcha.
We were dating at the time. We're not married, and we had gone to a party. There's a whole bunch of it's a military party, so somebody in our unit, big party. So we go to it. We each drive separate. She drives her vehicle. I take the bike. And as we leave, there's you're driving down the road, and there's a stop sign at the end, and you go. That's the end of the neighborhood, and you go left or right to a main road, like not a little road, like a major road thoroughfare. And so as we're leaving and we're going down the straightaway, maybe about 200 feet is a stop sign. I didn't realize where I was, and all I wanted to do was show off. So I'm behind her, and so what are you going to do? I pull out and just gun the crap out of it, and so I am flying. Well, what I didn't realize is there are arborvitaes, those tall hedges.
Okay, yeah.
Super tall, like 10, 12, 15 feet tall, that come all the way up to the edge of the road, so you can't see who's coming or going. It's one of those things where you stop the stop sign and then you have to edge forward to look at the road.
Yep.
I was going probably 60 miles an hour at the stop sign when I realized it was a stop sign. I'm getting ready to go through this intersection, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I close my eyes because I don't want to see it. I grab the brake and the clutch, slam it on, and I slide all the way through the road to the other side. And I stop, and I open my eyes.
When you say slid, as in still on 2 wheels or to the side?
No, 2 wheels.
Okay.
Upright. I'm still upright,
so
but
you braked upright.
I'm braking upright, but I slid all the way because I'm 60 miles an hour. You slide all the way through. I get through. My heart is just beating through my chest. I'm freaking scared to death.
You had your eyes closed, so you didn't want to see yourself getting hit.
I didn't want to see myself. I didn't want to see a car coming because you're gonna get killed going through if you get hit by a car.
Yep.
So I didn't want to see it. So I get through, heart's racing. Cheryl comes through, and she comes up beside me, and she is yelling at me, crying, and basically she said something, "Don't ever do that to me again, or I never want to see you." Something like that. She was so
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. I mean, it was really stupid on my part, really, really stupid. and she won't. Whenever we got to where we were going back to the apartment or the house, she let me have it. And
so you pulled a Mustang GT move out of a company
yeah,
car.
I did. I pulled a I totally pulled a Mustang move coming out of a car show, and that scared me. That really, really scared me.
Did that change? Did it scare you enough that it changed your behavior?
Oh yeah,
okay, well,
yeah, it did.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it definitely changed my behavior because I realized that how quick you can be stupid on a street bike is. I mean, to get that fast is like in a second, right? In a car, it takes you longer to get up, but then you have stuff around you if you get hit. Motorcycle, you don't. So it definitely changed. So I sold it not because of that incident, but I didn't like paying insurance for a motorcycle that sat most of the year. Mm-hmm. And I'd had enough close calls, not of my driving, but riding ability, but how cars don't pay attention to motorcyclists where they would come over on you. I'd had enough of those. I'm like, I don't want to take a chance anymore. So I got rid of the bike. But I went full steam ahead into racing motocross. So we're married. I only have one bike. Cheryl, oh, by the way, Cheryl bawled her eyes out when I sold the street bike because I proposed to her on the bike. That was our first date was on the bike.
Oh,
I proposed to her on the bike. We went to dates on the bike. So the bike was super special, but she cried when I sold it.
But secretly, she's probably pretty happy.
No, I mean, she really missed the bike. She enjoyed the bike.
Yeah.
She really did. She liked motorcycle. She didn't like when I was stupid on it, but she liked going on riding and stuff. Mm-hmm. So anyway, now fast forward. Nothing bad has happened to me at this point, for the most part. I mean, when I was a young kid, but now I'm getting really into racing. I leave the military. I go into civilian life. I'm still racing. My first week at my new job, I'm meeting all new people at my workplace, and I'm telling them about this race. We raced every Friday night. So you would show up at the track at like 5 o'clock, races start by 6, and then you go till 11, and it's all under lights.
Is that the Pacific Raceway?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it used to be called SIR.
Okay.
And so I was racing there. I'm telling all these people, and so one of the people said, "Hey, I'll come out and watch you." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So we're sitting in the stands, and I'm trying to tell the person, what the track is, why are people doing what they're doing, here's the whoop-de-doos, how do you ride. I was just kind of explaining, and I noticed on the finish line, it used to be a triple, 1, 2, 3 jumps. I noticed that it was getting a cup in the face of the first one, and it was kind of bucking the back end up. Okay, so I'm actually telling the person that was there, her name was Renee, and I'm like, "Oh, you see, Renee, you see how that person goes over it kicks their back tire up. I've got to remember when I'm doing it, I got to remember about that, because if you hit it too hard, it's going to send you over the bars." Mm-hmm. We get out there.
I think we can all see where this story is going.
There's a little foreshadowing.
A little bit.
So we get on the track, and you get that brain fog, race brain, whatever you want to call it, where
focus. You
forget about the other stuff, and you're so intent about what's in front of you. There was a guy in front of me, and I want to go for first place. Kind of sounds like...
I've seen that before. Mm-hmm. So, no, I'm just going to run around the back. No, it's going to be fine. I'm not going to try to...
I'm following this guy, and it's only like 4 or 5 laps. I forgot how many back then. Maybe it was more, but I don't remember. But I'm behind the guy, and I'm like, I got to get around this guy. Typically, the guy, whoever's in front, they're taking the best line, typically. So you need to find an alternate. So I go around, and what do you know? I hit that cupped area that I said I shouldn't hit. And so I endoed on a triple. Endoing on a triple means your front tire comes down on the face of the third jump. Not a good place to be.
Nope.
Hand goes out to stop, right? Because the front of the bike hits, and then you go over, and so your hands just naturally go out. My left thumb yanked back really bad.
Broke it?
Oh.
A little bit.
It was a pretty bad accident. They take me to Madigan because I'm still under Cheryl's coverage at the time. So go to Madigan at Fort Lewis, and I still have all my gear on and everything. And I remember telling them, "Don't cut off my gear," because I don't want my gear to be cut, right? I mean, it costs money. Well, they cut the gear off. They cut all my gear off. So I show up there, they cut all my gear off. And the doctor I get, terrible bedside manners. He like comes and grabs my thumb. He's like, "Does this hurt?" And just yanks the crap out of my thumb. I'm screaming bloody murder. Yeah, that hurt. Terrible bedside manners. But anyway, I severed the ligament that holds your thumb together. So my thumb was just kind of dangly.
Yeah.
So now I'm showing Gene, like when I close my thumb, it pulls my finger.
Oh, I see that.
You see how it pulls down?
Yeah, I see that.
Because they had to take my ligament and reattach it. So they put a pin in my thumb, stretched the ligament, reattached it. So that's why my thumb works now, and I got a scar there. That was my first kind of bad accident, and that was like right when I started in my new job. Well, I heal from that. I go back to racing, right? You get kicked off the horse, you got to get back on.
Right, of course.
So I get back on, and over probably the next 10 years, I have a series of incidents.
A series of unfortunate incidents.
I have one where there's a huge double at a track, like a 60-foot double. It's a pretty good jump. Mm-hmm. I can clear it on my bike that I was riding at the time. I was riding a YZ250, and I had a buddy that had a CR250, a Honda. And so we were trading bikes, but I'm not used to his bike. And so I can clear a 60-foot double, no problem. But I get on his bike, and it's not the same. It just feels different. I come up short, break my wrist. Not bad. That's kind of an easy one, but I break my wrist. Okay, so that's done.
What, did you fall off the bike? Or
Yeah.
When you hit, you broke?
Oh, as soon as I landed, because I came up short on the landing. So as soon as I hit, my wrist go like this and just snap it.
Yep.
So I try to ride it out, and I like come off, and I'm like, man, my wrist really hurts. And he looks at my wrist. He's like, yeah, you broke it. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm done for the day. So I broke my wrist. No big deal. I mean, breaks happen. Back at the track. So this is a practice day that happened. I'm back at the track for a race. I'm going down this particular area. I'm running down, make a 180 and come back. And my throttle gets stuck wide open. So at the end is a 180 turn. So I shoot over that, jump over the track, and land in the fence. Me and the motorcycle land in the fence that borders the track.
Oh, wow.
Bike's mangled, it's stuck inside the fence. I'm there, helmet's busted. Medics come around, and I get up. I'm like, I'm okay. I never want to take an ambulance because ambulances are freaking expensive, right? They're like, are you okay? I'm like, oh, I'm good. Just get my bike loaded. So I had some people load my bike. I drove. This is so bad. I had a concussion. I had all kind of stuff. Drove myself to Madigan again. I show up. I'm like, hey, please don't cut off my gear. Whatever you're going to do, just don't cut off my gear. Nothing bad. I had a concussion, broke my helmet, but nothing bad happened.
But did they cut off your gear?
They didn't cut off my gear either.
They listened this time.
They thankfully didn't. So this is let's say 13 years ago. I'm like really into racing at this point. Me and a buddy, John, we're going from Montana, Idaho, Oregon, California. We're racing all over the place. I'm racing the intermediate or expert class. So we're racing with a lot of really fast people. And I'm getting ready to step up to the next group this next year. So this is 13 years ago. This season, I'd already won my class. Okay, so that means the next year I move up to the next class. And so I tell John, I'm like, hey, I've already won my group. Let me run with the group I'm going to run with next year, the faster guys, and let me see what it's like. Well, this track it's wet. This is in October, I think, so it had rained or something. The track's kind of wet. And I'm riding with the faster guys, and there's a big jump between my group and the next group. But I'm trying to hold my own, and we go through whoop-de-doos, a bunch of those things, rollers, and I lose control of the bike, and it starts, we call it swapping, where the back end starts dancing like this.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, it's going to stop doing that and slam me to the ground. Yep. So it did that, slammed me to the ground. My left shoulder goes into the face of one of the whoops, and then the motorcycle just lands on top of me. I had the camper, my fifth wheel that's out there. I had that with us, and our bikes. John's racing too. And so John comes up there, and it's pretty bad. I can tell it's bad. And they're like, do you want the ambulance? No. No ambulance. John can take me. John gets the truck loaded up with the fifth wheel. He's never pulled a 40-foot fifth wheel, but he's got the fifth wheel behind him, got me in the right seat, and we leave the track and we come up to the end of, I think it's Deer Park Road. And if you go left, you go to Port Angeles, which is like 10 minutes away, and there's a hospital. Or you take a right and you come back home, and it's 2.5 hours back home. And so we get there, and John's like, left or right? And I'm like, if I have to have surgery, I do not want to be stuck in Port Angeles. Mm-hmm. It's not hurting that bad. Let's go right. We get 10 minutes down the road, and I am in probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. It hurts so bad. You can't get it in any position to be comfortable. John pulls over. We get a bunch of Tylenol. I pop a bunch of Tylenol, and I just suck it up. I mean, I was bawling. It hurts. We get down there. This was Halloween. Oh, this was Halloween night because John called Cheryl, and they were out trick-or-treating. And I think they came to the hospital in their outfits too. Oh, no. But John takes me to the hospital and have to have surgery. And so,
but did they cut off the outfit?
Oh yeah, they definitely.
Okay, so now the 3 times you've been, your outfit's been cut off twice.
Oh, and there's another one coming.
I know this one.
So they take me in and they do a scan, and you see the nurses talking right after the scan comes out.
So you know something's up.
I knew something's up, but they won't tell me without the doctor.
No,
they can't, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, just tell me what it is. Because by this point they had doped me up, so I don't feel the pain anymore. So finally the doctor comes in and he's like, you broke your upper humerus. I think I'm pronouncing it right. In your arm, you've got the ball and socket, right? Mm-hmm. And so the ball, I had broke in half, and the upper half, it didn't just break, it shattered. So what they have to do is he said, we're going to put a spoon, like a titanium spoon that's shaped like a spoon that cups over here, and we're going to kind of mush all that stuff together and hold it together and just put a bunch of screws in there. Okay, cool. So that's what they did. Put that titanium thing in there, and it was about a 9-month recovery to learn to use my arm again. I don't have full range of motion. I'm about 80%. The doctor said that, or the physical therapist said that in order to get the next probably 10%, you'll never get 100, but to get another 10, they'll have to go in and do surgery again and remove all that stuff. And you have to go through all physical therapy again. I'm like, man, for 10%, it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. So I've got limitations with my left shoulder. I can't play golf as good as I used to. And, there's some other stuff. Like sometimes you can feel the tendons and they get stuck on the metal that's inside there that I have to move it to get it unstuck. But for the most part, I've got good, I can do everything I want to with my left arm. That happened, and it was really bad. That was a bad accident.
Yeah, clearly.
The worst accident I've ever had. And I parked the bike.
But wouldn't the next one be the worst?
At that time, that was the worst.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I parked the bike, and I didn't get on the bike again. It's not because I was scared. I was never scared to get back on. But
you had to heal.
The time it took me to get back to where I was about a year. And that was a long time. And so I'm like, man, do I go back? I don't know what I was going to do. So I took a break from the bike, and then I get into, after the rehab, I kind of I'm missing something, right? Because I've been doing this high-level racing for so long. When it stopped and I got through recovery, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I needed something to do. And so I got into Cheryl was doing a lot of running. I hated running after I got out of the military because we did a lot of running, especially in the infantry, a lot of stuff in boots, and I hated, but Cheryl was doing a lot of running, so I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get into running now. So I got into half marathons, and then that led into, I got bored after a while just running, so then I got into triathlons. Yep. So I started doing some local triathlons, and then that got boring, and then I'm like, so I started doing Ironman, and then I think I did a couple of marathons in there.
Full Ironman?
Yeah, I've done one. I've done one full. I did one full and said, yeah, that's enough. I've
Check
done
the box, you did it.
I think I've done 6 halves. That's 70 miles. That's still a lot. I feel good with that. But the full, it was, It was brutal. It was brutal, and I didn't train. I didn't get enough training for it because we're building this house, and so I wasn't able to put as much training. And when you're on the bike for 100 miles and you're running for 26 miles, if you haven't done the training, it's gonna break your body.
Yep.
So it broke me pretty good. So I really don't have a desire to go back and do a full one, but I've knocked out 6 halves, so I'm pretty happy with those. And then I did a bunch of Spartan. That brought me up to 3 years ago, and I'm like, man, I think I'm going to get back into motorcycles. I'm going to go try it. I took my bike that had been sitting for about 10 years.
Wow.
Took it, went to the track, and Cheryl wasn't super excited, but she's like, I'm not going to tell you no, just be safe. So I go out there for practice, and I'm like, man, I did pretty good. Like, I'm not scared or anything. I feel pretty good. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just try it. Let's see what happens. So I remember clearly telling Cheryl, first race, I'm just taking it easy. I'm like, I know. It's
what you don't know is the look I just gave him.
So
was they really? You took it easy? Look.
We go out there.
Was Cheryl there with you?
No, she wasn't.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
just me, just solo. So I go out there, and the first race, I win. I'm not joking. I won. Now, my body I was tired. Like, my arms were pumped. I was exhausted. I wasn't in race shape, but I'm like, okay, I'm not riding at the intermediate expert level. I'd stepped down a class because I hadn't ridden in so long. But I think I was riding the junior class. And so I'm like, man, I still got it. Like, I won the group. So, yeah, let's do this. So every Friday night, I'm out there racing. I'm starting getting pretty good. I'm racing 2 classes, so I'm doing 4 races every Friday night. And doing pretty good. I'm finishing first, second, third almost every time I go out. A couple times I hit maybe 4th because I would fall down, and getting the bike cranked, because it's such an old bike, it was hard to get cranked. So
it wasn't an electric starter.
It wasn't an electric start. Okay. So I'm like, I need to get a new bike. So I go buy a brand new bike, electric start. Man, that thing was so nice.
That's the one I saw you in?
Yeah, the one you saw me. Yeah. Okay. So so nice, but it feels way different, like completely different. We go out with a brand new bike, and I don't win. I don't start winning right away, but I'm definitely second, third. But a couple more races, I start winning again. So I'm like, man, I'm like really, like, I don't want to get like too excited, because it's kind of maybe it's a fluke, but I'm feeling good. I'm working out. I'm racing well. Then August comes. So we're probably, it starts in May. So May, June, July. I've been racing for 3 months. I think it's in August is when this happened. I said I'm racing 4 times a night. First 2 races, first place both of them. So I'll go into the race 3 and 4 thinking, man, as long as I get, second or third, I'm still going to get a podium, get some good points. I'm thinking about for the series, getting the series championship. I'm on the line for the 3rd race, feeling good about myself. I remember talking to the person next to me. We're just kind of chit-chatting at the gate, and then it's our time to go. And so, I've got the clutch in, full rev, gate drops, I take off. I'm almost always first or second off the gate into the first turn. There's a guy that's kind of a heavy set guy, and he puts a lot of weight on that rear tire that he usually gets the whole shot. We call the whole shot first person to the turn. He gets it about 70% of the time, and maybe I get it like 30% of the time. So we're going the first turn. And I only know this because there's a video of a guy behind us that recorded this later. So we go to the first turn. The next thing I know, I'm waking up on a stretcher beside an ambulance. My memory is only me talking to the person at the gate drops, I take off, I'm headed to the front, the first turn, and I don't see anybody, so I'm out front, and then I wake up with the medic. looking
Wow.
over me, and I'm strapped to a stretcher board.
And to this day, that's your memory.
That's all my memory.
You got nothing else.
Never got back.
Yeah.
And so I've now watched the video to see what happens, but none of that ever came back. I don't have any of that memory.
And how many minutes of that do you think you lost? Was that
Oh,
10, 15 minutes?
it was probably 10 or 15 minutes that I lost. So what happened was we get to the first turn, and the heavyset guy loses control of his motorcycle, bumps a guy beside him, who then bumps me, and I go down. And because we're out front, you have the entire pack of motorcycles behind
Running
us.
over you.
They just ran over me. I had motorcycle tracks over my back. You could see the tire marks over my back. I get run over. A whole pack of us run over. They red flag the race. They bring the medics out, and then they strap me to a board, and they haul me off.
Do they start the race over when they red flag it?
Oh yeah,
So they
yeah.
start from the bring everybody back to the
Yeah, they'll
start
bring
line?
everybody back, and then they'll restart it.
Okay.
So John, the guy I was telling you about that I used to race with, he's at the race watching me. So he's out there. And Cheryl called. Now, this is crazy. Somehow, when I woke up and I'm strapped to the board, the medic had asked for my phone number, and I told them Cheryl's phone number. I still don't recall this ever happening, but it happened. Cheryl calls John and said, "Hey, where am I?" And John's like, "Oh, he's at the line waiting to go, but someone just had a crash, and so we're waiting for the race to start." And she's like, "No, that's me. That's Dan." And he's like, "Oh, crap." So he runs over there. So he didn't even know it was me until Cheryl called him. So he runs over there, and then they strap me to the board. I'm awake at this point, and I remember telling John, "Hey, can you take care of my motorcycle and drive myself home?" So
Priorities.
they strapped me to the board, and they put me in the ambulance, and I'm thinking, man, my first thought that I remember, this is going to be an expensive ride.
I was just about to say, you're finally in an ambulance.
I'm finally in an ambulance.
It
and I'm
only
like,
took 4 wrecks, but you
I know,
finally got
I
there.
finally got there. And
Score
so
one for Dan.
they take me to Harborview because they're worried about my neck.
Did they drive you in or have to air flight you at all?
Thank goodness they took me by ambulance because the helicopter was about a $50,000 helicopter ride. But the medic determined that she didn't think it was bad enough that I needed a helicopter, that they could strap me down, put a neck brace on me.
Yeah.
So they drive me there. And I had a really good chat. The gal was awesome. The medic, she was great. Talked to me, asked her questions. She answered me. They were thinking about taking me to Auburn. And she was on the phone to whomever, to the doctors or whomever. And at the end, they said, well, if he does have a broken neck, he needs to go to Harborview anyway.
That's what's that? My daughter actually works there. What is that? Series 1 or there's some kind of like trauma 1.
It's a
kind of
trauma.
place.
Yeah, it's a primary trauma center. So they're like, if he's got something, we're going to have to send him there anyway. So just go ahead.
Yeah.
So they took me all the way there, and they get me in. And then Cheryl meets me there. And
Did it hurt where you were like?
oh, they were. I was all
when you hit
drugged up.
bumps? Oh, they did
Oh,
not,
no. I was drugged up, but I remember joking with the medic because I said, "Man, is there no suspension on this ambulance?" Because I felt all the bumps, and she's like, "No, the potholes just suck in King County." So that was pretty good.
Well, that's truth though.
That was true. So
That's very true.
I did feel everything, but it wasn't like so bad that I was crying pain.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt like everything moving in the ambulance. So we get there, and I don't remember a whole lot because they had me drugged up on everything. And Cheryl was there, and Cheryl told me about all the bad. She's like, "Oh, what you had was nothing." There was like people with gunshots, and like she's telling me all these other people that are in that trauma center. So it turns out I broke my neck and I broke my back. But the good news is that they said, at least right now, based on x-rays, I don't think you need surgery. So I'm like, oh, thank goodness. So they said, what you need to do, go home, come back in 2 weeks. We'll re-x-ray you after swelling has gone down and all that type of stuff. And then we'll determine if we need surgery. And I'm just praying, Lord, please don't make me have to have surgery. So we go. I'm spending 24 hours in the hospital. I didn't call my parents. This will come into story later. I go home. I can't walk. I mean, I can just baby step, right? I got a walker, you know, I got a neck brace on. It's, you know, it's pretty bad. I'm sitting there, they're giving me, you know, Oxy, all this other stuff, right?
Oh,
That
man.
I only did a half a pill a day, and I think they prescribed 2 to 4 pills a day, and I did half of one a day because I don't want to take.
No,
I don't
I'm with
take
you, man.
I don't want to get, because
Knock the edge off.
I had a buddy that OD'd on that stuff, and I don't want to get around it.
Yeah,
So
I have family who did too.
it was painful. I had a painful. I was kind of sleeping on the couch, you know, kind of upright for the most part. That happened. So I crashed, had my accident Friday night. I came home from the hospital on the next Friday night. Fast forward a week later to a Sunday at noon about. And I'm sitting there on the couch, and I'm having a hard time breathing. It's like hurting my chest. Like, no, I mean my back. It's hurting my back. Like every time I breathe in, it would like hurt my back. And I'm like, so I got, you know, I kind of got my walker and I got stood up. I kind of walk over to the bar, and I'm like, man, I can't move my body in any kind of position to get relief. It hurts. I'm telling Cheryl, I'm like, God, it hurts to breathe. Like my back, it's like someone punched me in my back. I don't know what's going on.
Did you deflate a lung? Did you deflate a lung?
Well, I wasn't sure what was going on because I didn't collapse a lung at the crash, but I'm having all this pain, and within 15 minutes, I kid you not, I am bawling. It hurt so bad to breathe. I was crying. And I didn't want to breathe. I'm trying to hold my breath, but then when you finally need to breathe, it even hurts hard.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. We have to go to the emergency room. I don't know what's going on. So we go to, there's like a urgent care in town. So I'm like, let's just go to the urgent care. Maybe it's something minor. So they take me in and tell them what's going on. They sit me down. Luckily, there wasn't a lot of people there, and they get me back quickly. And they run some type of a chest scan on me. And I don't know what the number was. Let's say that the number that you should have is like 50. I had like 50,000. Okay. So I'm like, okay, what does that mean? They're like, your lungs are completely filled with blood clots right now. And I'm like, oh. So like, so what was happening obviously is that I'm not getting blood flow.
Yeah.
Normally that, you know, they've seen people with blood clots, but they've never seen, doctor said they'd never seen anybody with lungs filled with blood clots like mine.
Was it both lungs?
Both
Or
lungs.
Ooh.
So they're like, you've got to go to the hospital like now. I'm like, okay, I'll go there right now.
My wife will take me.
My wife will take me.
Exactly right.
Because literally the ER is just down in Puyallup. So it's like 10, 15-minute drive to Good Sam. So they're like, oh no, you can't. You have to go in. You have to go into a special ambulance. So they called the special ambulance that had some, not just medics, but like specialized people in there. So the time I waited for the ambulance, not only waiting for them to get the ambulance, then they have to strap me in, and then they couldn't take me right away because they didn't have a bed at Good Sam available. I could have already been there for all that time together. Anyway, they take me down there, which it ended up costing me $4,000 for that 10-minute ambulance ride out of pocket. So I get there, you know, they do lung scan, and lo and behold, I've got, you know, what the urgent care said, I got all these blood clots. So they put me on blood thinner right away.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was because when I had my accident, it was trauma to my body. And then I was immobile because my back and neck were broken, so I couldn't move. I could barely go to the bathroom. So I was literally just laying there for an entire week, not doing anything. So that's really what contributed to it. So then I was on blood thinners. I had a neck brace. I mean, I was like... You're a mess. I was a freaking mess. I still hadn't told my parents at this point.
Oh, my God. We haven't told Mom yet?
I haven't told Mom yet.
Oh, Mom. I hope she spanked you.
I mean, I tried to explain it. I didn't tell her right away when it happened because I didn't want to freak out. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to wait to get a diagnosis. So when I went back in 2 weeks, you know, to tell me if I need surgery or not, then I was going to let her know. But then in the meantime, I got the blood clots. Then I'm like, I really don't want to freak her out now, or either one of my parents. when I finally left the hospital, the ER from the blood. So I spent how long did I spent an entire week in the ER. Entire week I spent in the ER. So I went in on Sunday. I didn't come home until the next Saturday.
Oh, man.
So I was in there for the entire week. Now, I've got all kind of fun stories about being in the hospital for a whole week, but I spent another week in the hospital. So at this point, that's 2 weeks now. A week before the blood clots and then a week after. So 2 weeks I hadn't told my parents what had happened. So once I got cleared to leave the hospital, and they said, hey, you just need on blood thinners for the next year. Hopefully your body will go back to normal and you won't have to be on them for the rest of your life. But there's a chance you could be on thinners for the rest of your life. Let's hope not, but we won't know. But you can go home now. You're cleared. You got to keep wearing your neck brace. You know, I've got like 6 more weeks or another week to wait to go back to check up. So anyway, I called my mom at that point because I know I'm okay right now. I think I'm okay. Man, Mom was not happy.
I could imagine.
Hey, Mom, I love you. Yeah, she wasn't happy.
Yeah,
was not happy.
so.
But I felt like the reason my rationale was solid. And Cheryl wanted to call right away, but I told her not to. So it's my fault. I said, don't call because I don't know. I don't want to freak anybody out. So Cheryl wanted to, but I told her, don't do it.
Well, that's just a man's way of doing things. We're not going to necessarily,
Well, but in my other accidents, I called my family right away. Like when my shoulder one, I had to have surgery. I called my parents right away. But this one, I didn't know what was. There was still unanswered questions. Like on my shoulder surgery, hey, you busted all this stuff up. Surgery, you'll be fine.
But that's more binary, though.
It is.
More, I busted up, they got to fix it. This is, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I can see the logic of, I don't know what's going on, Mom. And then Mom, being as loving moms are, they're going to ask a zillion questions. You're going to say, I don't know. And they're going to ask a zillion more.
Yep.
So I get it.
My dad was cool with it.
But again, Mom, he's an idiot.
I told her if it ever happens again, I'll tell her right away.
Really?
Yep. She didn't find that funny.
No, I could imagine why Mom didn't. Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward. I spent too long on that story, but fast forward a year later, blood clots are gone. I'm off blood thinners. The neck and back have both healed. I can do everything I want to do. Doctor said that I likely have arthritis in my neck from where I broke it, but otherwise I don't have to have surgery, and I'm back to doing everything that I want to do. I told Cheryl that I would not race motocross again because even though that accident was not my fault, and in the one where I busted my shoulder, I mean, it kind of was my fault because I was the one riding, but it was the weather. It was the bad weather. Anyway, I said I wouldn't do it because it freaked me out, freaked my family out, So I'm like, okay, I miss it, but I won't. I'm not gonna go back and race. I want to ride again. I'm not afraid to get back on the bike. Which
riding and racing are two different things.
Two different things, especially on a track at a high level. And I have to admit to myself, it's hard for me to just go out and putts. I mean, it is. It's hard.
That.
I say I'm going to do that, but it's just not in my nature. I want to compete. And so I know if I get back on a motocross track, which if my family would be fine with it, I would go back out there now. And I would probably be competitive. But I said I wouldn't do it. Okay, so I had this void. So all of that story now has led me up to how did I get to cars? Because you see, I spent, 40 years of my life in motorcycles. That's all I've known. Cars were, we talked earlier, I was a little bit into cars as a kid, but really more around trucks and looking cool, but that's really about it.
It's not performance.
Not performance at all. And, I went to races, but I really wasn't into it. When this happened, I needed something. I really needed something because as I mentioned, I'd already gone through like Ironman, marathons, all this other stuff. While I still do some of that stuff today, like I needed something else that the motorcycle filled, which I don't have now. My dad had given me the 370 Nismo, and so I had that car. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I could get into some. Maybe I could get into some stuff. The C8 had come out. Had been announced, and that really got me excited because I never liked the long front end of a Corvette, but the mid-engine I really liked. So I got one of those. And
was the plan in the beginning when you got the C8 to track it?
Not to track. I had no desire to track. The C8 that I've got is a non-Z51. It's just a base Stingray.
Base Stingray, okay.
Because I didn't want to track. Like I had because I was still motorcycle at that time when I ordered it. But I said, I'll autocross. I'll get it. Autocross looks pretty cool. When I tried with the Nismo. I've done both with the Nismo and with the C8. And so I did autocross for an entire year, and I loved it. I was like, man, a lot of fun. Learned how to control the car better. Mm-hmm. Turning, reaction, braking, all of that stuff is really, really good skills. I did an entire year of like 15, 20 different events. I did a lot of events, like almost every other weekend I'm doing autocross, really into it. I get to the end of the year, and I know you guys had talked about, tracking your black wings and other stuff. And I looked at, my base Stingray, and I'm like, oh, man, it's a non-Z51. How can I make it a Z51? You can't. You really can't make it a Z51. So I'm
have to go full all aftermarket suspension, and there's too soon.
Yeah. There's no way to convert that. Yeah. So you just have to I'd have to get a new car. I'm like, well, I don't buy another C8. So I'm like, well, I'll take the Nismo out. So I took the autocross was great, but it didn't fill the need that the motorcycles filled for me. And so that's when I got into, I'm like, hey, I'll go out to the track day last year. You guys had the V Club thing, mm-hmm. and I took the Nismo out. First time I'd ever been on the track with that car.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was fun. I mean, I was putting in on a pretty good time. I think I was like at 2:02, first time out. It was a lot of fun. I'm like, holy cow. And then I'm like, how do I get my C8 to do this? And I can't. I had put my name on a Z06 2 years before, not even planning to ever, I didn't even know if I'd want the car because I had no desire to track it because I was in motorcycles. But it was something cool to put my name on a list for. But now all this stuff had happened where I did autocross. It was great. Didn't feel the need. The bad accident with my motorcycle. I'm not in motorcycles. My name was on a list for a Z06. And then out of the blue, I get the call for the Z06. When that happened, I'm like, I'm going to go full tilt on tracking. Like I don't know where this is going to go. Maybe I might get my pro license, my race license. Maybe I'll start doing, some events. Let's just see where this goes. And so the Z06 is really what's kind of changed my mindset about what I want to do and where I get enjoyment. I still want to do autocross. I enjoy that. That's fun. But the track is where I get the adrenaline pumping like I did racing motorcycles. It is like I don't know if it's a
really safe environment.
It's a super safe environment. Yeah. It's not as fun as racing, like wheel to wheel open, like open wheel, not open wheel, but wheel to wheel. But when you're an advanced group with HPD and you have really good drivers and you guys are passing all over the place and you can trust when you're on their back bumper or they're on yours that they're going to know what they do, man, that I really, really enjoy that. Yeah. And so, I think I've said a couple times, I wish I'd have found cars sooner, but I don't know if now that I've really gotten into tracking the car and even other cars that I've been looking at, if my journey hadn't have been what it was, would I even be doing the car stuff? Because all the things with motorcycle really put me up to where I can be aggressive in a car. I'm not scared of speed. Yeah. I know how to take apex. I know how to do turn. I know how to do all racecraft. I know how to do all that stuff that maybe I wouldn't have done if I had been into cars and just slowly got into tracking. I might not have developed that skill set till late anyway. So I'm glad it happened. I mean, I'm not happy I broke my neck and my back, but the journey to get me where I am today, I think, has been very filling. And now,
was the Nismo with us the first time you went on a track?
First time I'd ever been on a track in my life.
So when we did the the HPDE event
Yep.
last year. That was the first time you didn't bring the Blackwing, but you brought the Nismo.
Brought the Nismo.
Right. That was your first time ever on a racetrack.
First time ever on a racetrack.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was.
I didn't realize that was your first time on a track.
Oh.
I had no idea. We didn't know each other that well.
Yeah,
at the
we didn't know
time,
each other that well.
I wouldn't know that. But listen, doing 202 on that track, that's pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Especially for your first time. That's pretty quick, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
That's really good. The fastest I got in my ATSV was 201. So that's as fast as I could push that thing.
But I
And I've
honestly,
done it a bunch.
I think it has to do with again, just my background.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not scared, because you'll get people out there the first time and they're like really super careful.
Timid.
Very timid, right? But I'm like full out, like get me out of the go, I'm gone.
Yep.
So anyway, that's got
That's
me.
cool. We could be a part of that journey, though. I'm actually. That's really cool that we were part of your journey.
You guys were. I mean, think about.
I love that.
Yeah, I think I talked before in an earlier episode about how I got to meet you guys and get the Blackwing on order. But you think about how you guys came into my life and how I've been able to get reconnected with cars, and now all the stuff that I'm doing with cars and with the tracking and with the club, and like I'm 100% invested in the club and the activities and being with you guys. And so, yeah, it's just a weird how all that's this whole journey to get me where we are today.
It's a community. I mean, that's what I tell people all the time. The V Club itself the cars are what's foundational for us. We have passion for the cars.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's about building the community.
It is.
We become, a bunch of people who just love cars, and we hang out and do things outside of the cars that the community has brought us around to. So that's
I know, like
love it.
Cars and coffees, just drives, tracking, autocross, like all of these stuff now. I'm like so into and
podcast.
Oh, and now we're on the podcast doing this stuff. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a crazy journey of from 6 with motorcycles to where we are today with the cars. And aside from the accidents, I wouldn't change anything. I've enjoyed everything. I've got a great family. I got to give props up to my family, for my wife, wonderful wife, to allow me to do what I do and support me in this crazy stuff. She doesn't want to hear about the speeds I go or anything like that, but she's totally on board.
I've
and
seen
supportive.
him show. He's like 100 miles an hour. He's pretty freaking slow. Don't worry about it.
100
miles an hour turn 1.
in turn 1. But I've met great people, all you guys with the club, and then other people at the track. Forgive me, I don't know all the people that I've met. David comes to mind because I talk to him more regularly now.
He's a great dude.
But I've met so many other people, awesome people at track. Steve with SCCA, like just a whole bunch of cool people. And yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
That's a great story, man.
Yeah. It's,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Any final words before you wrap up today?
Final words.
And I'll pick up next week.
Okay, I'll tell you this.
And I have a question for you.
Okay, I'll tell you this, that we'll talk about this in a future episode, but Cheryl, is going to the Blackwing experience, and she came to me and said, if there's the option to go, I want to do it. And so when she had done a thing before, she really wasn't super excited about the track. Like, she loved the autocross, but she really didn't like the track thing. So I didn't think she'd ever do an event. But she's like, I want to practice the shifting, with the paddle shifting.
Okay.
I want to practice that so I can get better, and I want to go back and do it again.
And she can do the automatic, though?
Yeah, she can do the automatic.
Okay.
Trying to do the manual, while her car is the manual, trying to do manual and the track is just too many variables going on.
Yeah.
And so if she can just focus on the driving and not worry about the gear change, and just the paddles are you're really only in a couple gears, right?
You're only on most tracks. You don't get past fourth gear,
right?
So you may go down into second gear on a real tight turn,
maybe,
but most parts third and fourth gear.
Third and fourth gear.
If she wants to drive my car on a cruise one day, she can drive my car.
Well, I told her I put her in the Corvette and let her do paddle shifting, but maybe we could do that.
Going for that.
Yeah,
for
maybe we could do that and let her
my
practice
car.
on your too.
Yeah, no problem with that.
But so I thought that was cool that she came to me and said, hey, if there's an opportunity, I would love to go do it. So maybe she'll start getting more into some events. We'll have to get her on an episode in the future.
And when you get your new car, which is going to be what'd you
Yeah,
say it
no,
was?
the
What'd you say that was? You said this part-time track car. It could be a track car. It's not really designed for it, but it could be.
hint.
What was it again?
I'll give you a
I can't
hint.
remember.
I have a VIN now.
You have a VIN. Wow.
I have a VIN.
Wow. Is a car coming from Italy? Or is it coming from Germany?
I'm not sure where it's coming from,
Really?
but
Okay. Or
it's
is it
coming on a
from the
boat.
UK?
It's coming on a boat.
Okay.
It's coming on a boat, and I
Come
have
from
a,
Stuttgart? Like
it's coming from
the-
coming on a boat, and it's going to land on the East Coast.
Are you going to go pick it up and drive it over?
I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet.
Yeah.
It just depends on the arrival because I've got, like I said, I've got 3 or 4 track days next month. I've got some travel that we've got coming up, you know, with some different things. So it really depends on when it arrives and what I'm doing, whether I ship it or I pick it up. I don't know. So
Well, if you pick it up and you got nobody to go with you, and I'm not working, you may. I may
Road trip.
be willing to do a road trip
okay,
cross country.
all right,
That'd be a lot of fun.
all right.
So
So
my
what?
wife doesn't want to go.
She can't take off work. She
Oh,
won't.
yeah.
She won't be able to take off work. So
And
all
what was
right.
it- what was the color of the car, by the way? You said
the what?
the color of the car. What's the actual color of the
It's
car?
one of the 256 colors.
I don't even like you. You know, by the way, I've been looking around to see if I see any. Because last time I was here,
I know last time, the last couple times I had like some stuff. I didn't think you would notice. There was something here that I didn't want Gene to see. Okay, I tried to play that off. I didn't. I'm going to take it away now.
I should. By the way, I thought about not saying anything and just getting up and kind of grabbing the magazine and seeing.
You would have seen it.
I
You would
know.
have seen it. I'll definitely take it away now. All right, is that a wrap? Did you have a
That's it?
question?
No, that was really it. I was
That
trying
was
to get you
it?
to that.
All right. All right, till next time.
Till next time.
All right, later.